people have seen the processes in ways that aren't really in harmony with how nature works, how the universe functions. That's a ways out there for some people. It's a shift in consciousness that needs to happen, but it is happening. I mean, more and more people see this. They see that energy really does affect how processes work, how their own bodies work, how they interact with other people. And so this is happening. The shift is happening. It's happening around the planet. Just like in times past, these memes are shifting, right? Now laws need to shift. They need to catch up. And how they're going to do that, that's part of the process. I think that people need to start to see things in new ways. And I think it's empowering for people because it starts to get them to see that they have a direct effect on processes that have a profound influence on their life. And it's not just some other entity, some national entity. The president is the only one who can bring about change. I don't think it works that way. And in that process, however, it's going to be massive disruption. I'm not going to, it's naive to think that there's not going to be tremendous upheaval as we transition from the old way of looking at laws, looking at all these systems, and the new ways that are emerging. That's part of the existential crisis that's driving these processes. That's part of evolution. And we're in the midst of it right now. I mean, the financial system started truly to break down in 2008. But that's really the culmination of decades of imbalance. Right? People are feeling that tremendous stress. Right? And so they're starting to despair. How am I going to live? Where are all these systems going to be created so that I can sustain my life, honestly? And many people don't even know the half of it because the mass media has really done a very good job of controlling the information flow, diverting attention, changing the story, keeping people from seeing the true circumstance they're already in and what's about to happen. So there's going to be a lot of disruption, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. But out of that, new systems will emerge. People will have more control over their own lives. They'll have the ability to make their own decisions. Not because somebody told them they're authorized to do it. They'll just do it. They'll just have to do it themselves. And so in the transition, I hope to get the legal system to accept some of those new processes. If they don't, well, we'll find new ways to get around it. That's how it's always worked. In any evolutionary process, there's always a tendency to see the old ways as being in a negative light because they led to the problems which caused you to have to shift, right? And to feel like you need to discard those old ways and somehow cast them as the evil to be resisted and to be fought against. And that's certainly happening now. It's going to happen in the future, that there will be a tendency to always see, for example, the legal system, as it breaks down and becomes less and less meaningful in terms of people being able to resolve disputes and to gain justice. The tendency will be to see that as the problem, and therefore we need to cast off all of that. We need to just throw all of it out, right? And that's not how evolution works. Evolution works by old systems changing, but building on the best of what was there, which caused it to work in the first place, and be the change that resulted from a prior system, okay? It's a system of building and then letting go things that aren't working. Yeah, and this happens in consciousness. As we see a bigger picture of how consciousness has evolved, how humanity has evolved, the tendency is always to think, well, those people are at a different level, lower level of consciousness than me, therefore there's something wrong with that, or something not to be respected about that. I think that's very short-sighted. Instead, the longer view is to look at it from an evolutionary perspective, to see how legal systems have evolved. They built on what was traditional in the past, threw out what really wasn't sustainable, wasn't just, wasn't fair, was based on some principles that really weren't accurate or weren't worth keeping, but didn't throw the whole systems out. And in the process of finding out what's usable, what's not usable, it's helpful not to cast everyone who's been involved in those systems as evil or somehow not worth collaborating with. There are people involved in old paradigms, old ways of looking at systems that aren't able to shift. They're stuck in those patterns and they're resistant and they're going to hang on to those patterns. That's part of evolution too. Okay? Not everyone is going to shift at the same time, but some people will. And the more we can see that everyone has gone through these shifts, everyone has shifted over time, everyone has come from something old, moved to something new, you gain respect for the past and don't cast it in such a negative light. Because there's certainly, the legal system, for example, is going to play a role. The existing legal system is going to have to play a role in this new environment. Lawyers who are present right now may be working for corporations. Maybe they're working for, in the defense system, criminal defense lawyers, or that may be in a system that some people would see as negative. I certainly have viewed corporate power in a negative light. Now I see it as just part of an evolutionary process. Is it something that I think is desirable? No. The levels at which it's achieved power? No, I don't think it's desirable. I think it's destructive. Does that mean that corporations themselves, all corporations are evil? All corporations need to be cast aside? No, of course not. There are many corporations that are evolving themselves as a result of their own directors, their own awakening inside the corporation, their own desire to be more sustainable. So that's how all these processes are going to work. There are certain elements in the legal system that are awakening and finding out that the systems aren't sustainable. They have to change. That's how it's going to work.